I know, right? Where's your Thor hammer?
Oh, I fucking left it on the desk.
Damn.
I fidget on them.
We just need to remember no stomping. I was tapping my foot, no touching the desk, nothing. All right. Guys, welcome back to episode 4 of the StrongAF podcast. I cannot believe we're already at 4 episodes. That's wild.
This is crazy.
Guys, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, go ahead and check those out. But today, this episode is going to be a little bit controversial compared to the others, if you can't tell from the title. As always, I'm Nate Craig, joined by
Asim Fayez.
And let's just jump straight into it, guys. So we got some questions from the viewers here. And this episode is going to be more geared towards the fighter, MMA, grappling world. But yeah, let's jump into it. So Asim, going into a competition, what is the kind of breakdown mentality versus physicality? Do you think a competitor needs to be really dialed in mentally and not as much physically? Both? Is it an equal balance?
I think it's a balance. I think, so if we were to imagine like a finish line and a track, I would say the first 75% of that entire track is just physical. You need to be in physical shape, you need to have the cardio conditioning, etc. And I think that bleeds into the mentality aspect in that last quarter. That last quarter, the first half of the mentality is knowing that you did do all the things you need to do breeds a lot of confidence. Knowing that you did the right things that you needed to do will breed a lot of confidence. You'll go in already with confidence. But this is where I think most competitors go south. And I think this is something that we say to a lot of our competitors, regardless of sport. It's not always the best fighter, lifter, grappler, whatever, that wins that day. It's the better one who can compete, the one who's better at competition. Meaning, a lot of people are demons on the mats, last forever, never get tired, technically sharp as hell. But when they get in the competition, they either deer in headlights or they fade away because they can't control the anxiety and the mental aspect of it. So I think the mentality on that last quarter is far more important to get the mental wins and master your mind than it is the physical. Because once you get to a certain point of competition, everyone's strong, everyone's in shape. That's pretty much the baseline, like barrier to entry. Right. You're technical, you're strong, you're in shape with varying levels, but everyone is there. No one is on those stages that shouldn't necessarily be there. Every now and then you'll have something. But I think the mentality is what's going to separate the two. Right.
And okay, I don't know if it was you or one of the grapplers, I forget who it was, but somebody mentioned, and it took me by surprise. I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy myself. It's been years, but they said that prior to a competition, right before they step on those mats, they would actually hard roll a couple times.
Yes.
Prior to going into the match. I'm like, what? Doesn't that gas them out? But I guess it puts you in fight or flight, or do you have any insight kind of?
Yes, actually. And that, another podcast I was listening to earlier this week, Fighters Drinking Coffee. It's run by Mike Sutherland and Scott Dance from DMA and Battlefield. Those guys actually talked about Scott's recent performance at Chicago, where he won Chicago Open at Black Belt. And one of the things I talked about was the mentality. And him and I talked a lot leading up to it, especially his warm-ups. So I think at that level, everyone's physically ready, they're technical. But everyone has anxiety. Because especially when it's televised, in a televised event, everyone's watching you. He did a solo mission where he drove up there himself like a warrior and took on the challenge by himself with no team, no coach. So not only did he have to watch the clock as he was rolling and competing to manage fatigue and fight economy, and that's something we're going to hit on in a little bit, is fight economy. It's such an important skill that I think people overlook because everyone just wants to lift weights, get strong, get better cardio, better technical. But they don't know how to manage their economy on the mats. And I think with the essentially fight before you fight mentality is so important because it's hard to have a lot of anxiety and adrenaline rushing through you when you already got tired.
Right.
And what a lot of people find, and I'm sure as a lifter you know this, after a couple of sets, you start feeling stronger towards the middle or end of those sets. If you do 5 sets, like set 5 or set 4 is your strongest. And that's where you're like, oh, I feel the best. Set 1 feels like shit. You're stiff. It's like jiu-jitsu. It's like an open mat. First 1 or 2 rolls, you're stiff. But by 3rd, 4th, 5th roll, you're feeling loose. Same thing with the competition, so on and so forth. But what happens in a competition where you only get that one first fight? Maybe it's a super fight, or it's an MMA fight and that's the only fight, or it's a jiu-jitsu tournament where if you lose that first one, you're out completely. It's not a round robin. So how do you remedy that? How do you simulate that 3rd or 4th set kind of feel, 3rd or 4th round feel? And what I'm finding is a common denominator amongst the more successful competitors is they get tired before they go and get tired. they get that anxiety out. They do sprints. Some are more methodical about their stretching and warming up, but they all essentially fight once or twice before they actually go do their first real fight with another opponent.
So they're stepping on that mat, already warmed up. The nerves are gone. Now they're actually able to think, as opposed to someone stepping up there.
Yes, joints lubricated, blood flow, all that stuff. But the anxiety is gone, and now they can think clearly. Where a lot of opponents are going to be thinking deer in headlights because that adrenaline fogs the mind. It builds up lactic acid quickly. You start feeling fatigue. It's the only reason someone can go hours on end each week training and then fade away in 4 minutes in a match. What's the difference? The anxiety. Still just another opponent. Essentially, it's a really, really short open mat. But the difference is there's stakes.
Right.
There's something on the line. And that person is actually trying to hurt you.
That is so interesting. Again, I love that topic. That was a great question. Let's just jump into the next one and keep things going. Strength, endurance, or mindset? Which matters most for peak performance in competition?
Peak performance. I would say
strength, endurance, or mindset. Kind of ties into what we just asked.
Yeah. I would say if we took two pieces of like two bricks and there was cement in the middle that connected the two together. On one end, you have the physical, the physicality, the strength, and muscular endurance. Let's put those in the same category. The other, you have the technical aspect. So you have the suit of armor and you have the skill to fight in it. I think the two that puts it together is the mindset. So I think it's going to circle right back down to that mental aspect again, because I think what separates a great competitor from a good competitor is the mental fortitude and their confidence and calmness in that storm.
Right. I could see that.
It's like your first time doing a black diamond and you're like, oh, can I do this?
Dude, I was like 12. And I was like, uh-oh.
Exactly. Yeah. And then after that, it's like, oh, this is just another day.
Yeah, I'm good on that. Let's see here. Does proper technique reduce cardio demand?
Yes, 100%. Something I've noticed, especially since we focus so heavily on working with grapplers, is the people who need the cardio the most are the white belts, the early blue belts, and most definitely the black belts.
Really?
And this is why. I think the more efficient you get, the less energy you waste, the less jiu-jitsu becomes cardio for you. Because your fight economy is so good, you don't have wasteful movement. But on the flip side, on the front end of that spectrum, the white belts and early blue belts, their fight economy is so bad that they're gassing out so quickly that they can't stay in a round and mentally think about what they're trying to do. They're just trying not to be the nail to someone else's hammer. So I think people, when they first start off, need the conditioning and they need the cardio to be able to like think through a round and not think about like not having to have an asthma attack. But then I think black belts and shit, even some brown belts, depending on the depth of the school that they train at and their training partners, they definitely need it because they're so efficient. They don't waste energy on the mats. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
That is interesting.
But I think the people in the middle that like are still in that middle ground, like the purple and brown belts, where like they're very technical, they're dangerous any day, they can catch someone. They're not wasting a lot of energy, but they still are. Those are the ones that I would say would benefit from the cardio, but honestly, they just need to get stronger and fortify their body so they can make it long enough. Because when you're at that level, everyone below you is gunning for you, and everyone above you is trying to make sure you're humbled.
Right.
So, I think I would say white belts, early blue belts need to improve conditioning cardio, and black belts need to definitely improve their cardio. And then the purples and browns need to make sure they're fortified.
You hear that, purple and browns?
Yeah, it sucks to be the sandwich.
All right. While we're on the jiu-jitsu topic in general, let's just get into it. Is jiu-jitsu cardio?
No. So to the literal term and literal definition, yes, it is. Anything where you're raising your heart rate and challenging cardiovascular system is a form of cardio, for sure. However, from a strength coach's perspective, it's not cardio. Why? Because it is not a repeatable energy expenditure that we can manipulate and dial week to week to elicit a result. No two classes are going to give you the same output because the combinations of positions you will be in with partners of varying skill levels and sizes, intensities, and class structure will lead to an infinite amount of combinations of energy expenditure. Some classes will burn more than others. And not always do you know which one's going to be that. So when someone tells me, hey, I'm not going to do my cardio today because I'm doing class, my response is, that's not cardio. That's activity. Jiu-jitsu is your job. That's your skill acquisition time. But your attribute acquisition time is what you do on the track or in the gym. So when I look at cardio, I look at it as attribute acquisition. You do gym stuff in the gym. You do jiu-jitsu stuff on the mats. You don't do mat stuff in the gym, and you don't do gym stuff on the mats. So when you're trying to develop cardio, strength and conditioning, endurance, etc., mobility, do it in the scene that it's designed to be done in. Jiu-jitsu is where you acquire your skill and test the attributes you developed in the weight room. So technically, yes, jiu-jitsu is cardio. But when it comes to structurally designing a program and manipulating variables so we can elicit a result so you're not the same grappler month after month and you're not writing the same chapter year after year, I don't think it's cardio. It's an activity level. It's your job. It's your duty to do that. The things we do in the weight room should be enhancing that.
Well put. And if you don't agree with what he just said, or you do, comment down below. Let us know what you guys think, guys.
Please.
All right, let's jump into the next one. That was good. Let's see. Is cardio more about breathing or pacing? And this could translate to competitors in general or in their weight room or whatnot. Do you think breath monitoring and whatnot?
Absolutely. I think the question's kind of skewed. So breath monitoring is very important in managing your economy in activity. So if someone, I have them on the Airdyne bike, and everyone knows how much we love that here. If you're on the Airdyne bike or you're on the ski erg, what kills people and makes them start huffing and puffing faster than anything is when they start matching their breathing to the tempo of their movement. Your breathing cadence and your tempo of movement should definitely be off. You should breathe slow and controlled in to get as much oxygen into your muscles, and then a controlled exhale, regardless of the pacing of the muscles. So is cardio breathing? I think that's not even I don't know if that would say that's a solid question, because cardio is an attribute, whereas breathing is a skill in how you manage while you're developing that attribute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Whoever wrote that one, don't write that stuff anymore.
It's like bracing's not.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, bracing's not a strength. It's just a component that allows you to express strength better.
Gotcha. All right. Next one. Preventing burnout and managing training cycles between competitions. So, we have a bunch of people that come into this gym and they're in multiple competitions a year, sometimes different sports too. It could be jiu-jitsu and then a couple months later taking powerlifting. Do you have any advice in between those competitions, how to cycle your workouts, how to kind of balance that, or a time duration in between the comps?
Yes. I think mental wins are monster, but mental breaks are also equally as important. So I'll tackle it kind of like section to section. The first one I would say, like the world competitors, people who are competing at worlds, and they start with us at the beginning of the year. We run a whole training cycle. They're doing all the tournaments leading up to worlds, all the majors, etc. And then we really peak them out for worlds itself. Everything is just practice to get you in the best position for worlds. That first 2 weeks after training, after the world's competition, is damage maintenance and repair. We're just trying to figure out what damage was accrued through going to war for that many times on the mats. Then I put them through a phase I call holiday. We bro out. They come in, we get a pump, we do shit that looks nothing like what we're going to do throughout the year. And we do things that get them fun, that allow them to have fun, and allows them to express fitness in a way that doesn't feel like it's a job or it's a dread.
It's like a mental detox kind
100%.
From, I got
And
you.
honestly, for a lot of people, especially dudes, it seems like the bodybuilding phase seems to be the thing that helps them the most in that. So like after a powerlifting meet, what I'll end up doing is a week or two after the powerlifting meet, people just bro out in the gym, super light, get a pump, go in there, get a pump, get out. Don't chase numbers. Don't touch a barbell or anything that looks like barbell. Jiu-jitsu guys, it's very similar. We do a damage report and then we work around that. And if we're not in a rehab kind of like prep phase, then it's just holiday. Let's have fun. Let's do fun stuff in the gym for a little bit. Let's get your mind off of what we need to do as we then game plan what we're going to get you into when we start the training year. So that would be my advice for people who like look at their schedule from an annual perspective. If you're someone who's doing competition to competition, or you're just training and you're a hobbyist, which is the majority of the population, and you're getting mental burnout, from a training perspective, deload. Take time, deload, take a small little training break. If taking a couple of days means you're not digging a trench that you can't climb back out of for you to only come back stronger, do it. because it's always better to come back stronger the next day than to dig a trench you can't come back from the next day. Today should set up tomorrow. It should not hurt tomorrow, always. Don't be a gym hero. There's no mat medals. And same thing with the weight room. There's no weight room medals. And then I would say from the lifting perspective too, it's because when you peak out for a competition, you're peaking certain attributes, but there's other attributes that kind of like fell to the wayside. So I think like taking time to do those things helps a lot. But yeah, I'd say those mental things definitely help. Conversation I actually had with a client today, competitor Scott, actually. Surprise. We're talking about Shout out Scott. We're talking about physical burnout, mental burnout. The guy's handling an intense amount of workload professionally, but also physically. I have him between competitions right now, so we are not letting off the gas pedal. This is the second highest volume week of his phase. Next week will be even higher, and he is definitely experiencing a little bit of burnout today just because of calories, etc. So I gave him the green light I asked him before I was on my drive here, and I was like, dude, if you are on death row and you had your last meal, what would it be? And obviously we all know Scott, and Scott's a steak guy. So I was like, it cannot be steak. It cannot look like beef. What is your last meal that's not steak?
He's like, bro, it's my last meal, not yours.
Yeah, exactly. Because I wanted him to get the mental win. And he said pizza. And I was like, okay, then your assignment today is to go eat a big-ass pizza after practice, because he coached privates all day. He did business stuff. I put him on a 2-mile run right before a 3-hour wrestling practice tonight. And then after that, he has the green light to go smash a pizza and a protein shake and get a good night of sleep, because tomorrow's a full rest day. And then he has a hard training session on Saturday. So I wanted to prioritize the mental win, because next week's going to be harder physically. So I needed him to be mentally in the game, so that way he can recover through all that. Because after next week, we're in a mini holiday phase of recovery, and then we're back into comp mode. So I think with nutrition, making sure that you're giving yourself those, I don't want to say cheat meals, because that gets dangerous. That's dangerous territory.
Yeah.
That's dangerous speak.
But at the same time, I know what you're getting at, and it's so true. It's, when you're at the competitor level, everyone's in shape at that point, for the most part. It really is a lot more mental than I thought. Doing those rolls before you step on the mat kind of thing, clearing your head, eating the pizza, doing all that kind of stuff, really to get your head clear and keep that inspiration going too. We're not robots. We're people. We need a break every now and then. And if you're taking it at a regular cadence within reason and whatnot, I think that's a solid way to keep progress going and not hit that burnout point.
Absolutely. And also finding what gives you that little mini outlet, dopamine hit that makes you feel good, so you don't feel like you're dieting or you're cutting weight or you're prepping for something. Like 24-hour weigh-ins, burgers the night before has always been my thing. It's been like that since 2013. For whatever reason, it gives me a mental boost and I feel amazing. Because when I know at the end of this cut, I'm looking forward to a burger, it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
And then like everyone jokes because Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my only vice, but you will never see me eat it unless I'm cutting. Because when I'm that depleted, it's hard to feel like you're dieting when you have Cinnamon Toast Crunch waiting for you after that workout, But when I'm bulking up or whatever, I'm trying to go up weight class, is like, that is most definitely a dangerous time to be putting in that kind of sugar. So just knowing what gets your mind right, and then you leveraging it as another lever you can pull on every single day to give you those mental wins whenever you're starting to dip, is the way we create consistency in the long run.
Well put. Well, guys, we're keeping the episodes a bit shorter. I think we've tapped on about all the questions, but thanks again for tuning in. Comment down below some of your guys' thoughts. And again, check out our other episodes if you haven't already. Thanks a lot, guys.